Okay, good morning, guys. Today we're going to begin a new topic. This topic is coordinate plane. And in this topic, we're going to make an introduction of the part of the coordinate plane. So as you can see on the right side of the paper, I have one horizontal line and one vertical line. Those lines has names. The horizontal line represents the x-axis. I'm going to write over here, okay? The x-axis. And as you can see, the vertical line divides the horizontal line, right? It's perpendicular to the horizontal line. It represents the y-axis. This is the second term, y-axis. So this is important because when we have a cross between those lines, in the middle we have the neutral number, okay? So the x-axis has positive and negative numbers. Those positive numbers are to the right side of the horizontal line. To the right side of the horizontal line. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What about the negative numbers? The negative numbers goes to the left side of the horizontal line. So if this is the negative numbers, negative 1, it starts with negative 1 because this middle point represents 0, okay? The middle point represents 0. So we count to the left, but with negative numbers. Negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, to infinite. So in this direction, on the horizontal line to the left, we have negative x-axis. Do you see the difference between the positive x-axis and the negative x-axis? Between them, we have 0. Always be the same. Remember this, don't forget this, guys. So in the vertical line, we mentioned that the name is y-axis. It's vertical and it crosses to the horizontal line in this point, in the middle point. Always be 0, 2. So upside down, in the way that we go up to the y, we got the positive numbers. I'm going to write here 1, we got 2, we got 3, and we get greater in order we get up 5. Okay. What about the negative numbers in the y-axis? The y-axis, we see that we have the 0 in the middle point. So below the horizontal line, we got the negative numbers for the y-axis. Keep that in mind. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and negative 5. So finally, we can name the direction down negative y-axis. And we complete our coordinate plane. This is a coordinate plane. What we have before, I write those numbers, I write a x-axis, y-axis, This is not a coordinate plane. Coordinate plane is complete with those features. Okay, what features? X, y, negative y, negative x, and the numbers representing all the points on the coordinate plane. So this is just an introduction to this topic. I want to make sure that before then, all of you will know how to draw a coordinate plane completely. That's the reason why you need to use a ruler, because it's going to help you to all the distance between the numbers are the same. All the distance between 0 and 1, 1 and 2, horizontal or vertical are the same distance. You need to keep in mind. This is the first terms that we're going to learn. Remember, the cross between the two lines represents the number 0. Okay? So what about another term, or what does it work? Okay, we need to find ordered pairs. I'm going to write over here, ordered pairs. What is an ordered pairs? An ordered pairs, or in Spanish, pares ordenados, como significa en español, it represents the x and the y coordinate and the point that we're going to draw in this plane. Okay? For example, the x coordinate, the ordered pair are represented by a parenthesis, right? And inside the parenthesis, we're going to write first the x-axis. Then we place a comma, and we write the y-axis.
Profesor, no se puede ver. No se puede ver. Ahí.
Now you can see? Sorry. Sí. Now you can see?
Sí.
Okay. The x-axis goes first. Then we place a comma, and then we write a y-axis. All between a parenthesis. Okay? Don't forget that. So let's see one example. But first, we're going to talk about the parts inside the coordinate plane. We have four quadrants. 4 quadrants. What about those four quadrants? As you can see, okay, as you can see, this is the first quadrant. This is Roman's number. The second quadrant. Okay, let's place first letter, second letter, and this is the third quadrant. Third letter, and finally we have the fourth quadrant. Okay, fourth quadrant. So we have finally all the part of this coordinate plane, because those lines divide the coordinate plane into 4 parts. The first part, if we write the order pair of the first part, we can see that the x is positive because the negative is on the opposite side of the x positive. So we have x positive. What about the y coordinate or the y-axis? The y-axis is also positive as you can see, is up. This is the coordinate pair to the first quadrant. All the numbers in the ordered pairs are positive. What about the second quadrant? The second quadrant, we also have ordered pairs. The ordered pair to the second quadrant for x are negatives, all the numbers. As you can see below, we have all the numbers negative. So we have negative x. What about y-axis? On y-axis, all our numbers are positive. So we have y positive, right? So in this case, in the second quadrant, we have just negative to the x-axis. This is one feature to this quadrant. Important feature. What about the third quadrant? On the third quadrant, you can see that the x and the y-axis both are negative. So our ordered pair is negative x, comma, negative y. So you can see that the third quadrant is the opposite of the first quadrant, because in the first quadrant, all numbers are positive for x and for y, and the third quadrant, all numbers are negative for the x-axis and to the y-axis. So let's see our last quadrant, the fourth quadrant. So in this quadrant, you can see that the x coordinate are positive, and the y coordinate are negative. The y coordinate or y-axis is the only that is negative. And if we can see this second and fourth quadrant, you can see that in the second quadrant, just the x-axis are just negative, and in the last quadrant, that is the fourth quadrant, the y are negative. These are the features of all quadrants in this coordinate plane, and now we know them. Okay, this is just a definition, just to know an introduction of the coordinate plane. But now that you can see clearly all the names and all the features of the quadrant, we can plot points. For example, let's see some example of plotting points. Okay. The first example is -2, 1. Okay, if I place this first point, what represents -2 and what represents 1 for you? You can participate. I'm watching you. Raise your hand. What represents the -2 and what represents 1? Which axis? Any volunteers?
Aline wants to do it.
Okay, Aline.
Es el second axis.
The second quadrant, right? Thank you. The second quadrant. Why, Aline? Can you explain why?
Porque el x-axis es negativo y el y-axis es positivo.
Excellent, excellent. You know, the only negative number is a 2, and the 2 represents always the x. Remember that x goes first. Negative 2 does not represent y. Okay? Does not represent y. It represents x axis, and 1 represents y axis. Thank you, Aline. Let's see another example, and before we move on, plotting points. Okay, any volunteers to the second one?
Yo, profesor.
Adelante.
La primera, el first quadrant,
Yes, because?
porque los dos son positivos.
Thank you. That's the reason why. Both numbers or both axes are positive. Both axes are positive. Thank you. So let's move on. If you don't have any question with this topic, with this introduction, we move on to plotting points. Any questions? What about quadrants? How to identify quadrants? No? Okay. So let's move on. So in this step, please, I need everybody of you with the ruler, we're going to draw coordinate planes, okay?
Entonces puedo
Draw a
buscar una
coordinate.
regla.
Pero
Yes.
voy a ir a buscar una regla.
Yes, I need a coordinate plane with these features, okay? The first feature is draw an horizontal and vertical lines. Number 2, place the numbers of the x-axis and the y-axis, okay? Third feature, don't forget to write the axis positive or negative. Okay, let's draw our coordinate plane with those features. Okay, I'm going to use a pencil because if I need to erase, I can erase. So with a ruler, we can draw first our vertical line, and then we cross a horizontal line in the middle. Remember that when we cross those lines, the point in the middle represents the 0. The plot in the mirror represents the 0. So I'm going to use centimeters. Each centimeters will represent 1 unit on the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, that's the way I can draw perfect coordinate plane. So let's move on to the x-axis, to the y-axis, sorry. I'm going to use centimeters also. This is the way I can have the same distance between the numbers. Okay. We have the same distance between the numbers, right? Did you finish? Okay, here in the last, it's important to to draw the x-axis. We will place an x, positive x. And here we place a y-axis. Here down, we draw, it's important, guys, for you to draw the arrows, okay? All the arrows is important to draw. Negative y, and in this case of the left, negative x, okay? Okay, do you finish? No, okay. The numbers, remember, the first feature is to draw a horizontal line and the vertical lines. This is the first step. The second feature is place the numbers of the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, let's place the numbers. We have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Positive. And remember that to the left, negative 1, we can begin with negative 5. We need to begin with negative 1 because we have 0 here. Remember that the number is the same case as in the number line. Negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. And here down we have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, 4, negative 5, negative 6. Okay? Okay. And remember that this point, it represents 0. Okay? Are you ready? Okay, we're going to plot the points. Okay? Okay, I'm going to wait for you because I need you to pay attention of this part when I plot the points.
How do you do the 0, bro?
Sorry?
¿Cómo así 0?
Here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you see the period? or the point here, this point represents 0. Okay? If you count, if you count -1, then 0, then 1, 2, 3. Okay? You cannot count -1, 0, 5. No. Okay? Because it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and goes greater. And to the left goes smaller. -1, -2 is smaller. -5 is smaller than -1. Okay? We go smaller. And in the y-axis, we go smaller down, upside down. Okay? Okay, chicos. Did you finish?
Sí.
Yes? Okay, pay attention. I'm going to plot the first point. Pay attention. May I have your attention? May I have your attention? Okay, thank you. Okay, the first point I'm going to call, the points can have name, okay? This point I could call with the letter A. This is the point A. What is the point A? The point A has an order pair. Remember that this is called order pair. And the order pair is 4, -2. So I'm going to plot this point. First of all, I need to identify our x-axis and our y-axis on the coordinate plane. This order pair always begin with the x-axis. I repeat, the order pairs always start with the x-axis. So the number 4 represents our x-axis, and the number -2, the y-axis. Now we found the numbers. Now we need to find them here in the coordinate plane. How can we find them? We look first at the x-axis. It's the horizontal line. Search for the 4. Search the number 4. The number 4 is here. So this is the x. But what about the y? The y-axis is vertical and is identified by the number -2. The -2 is down, right? It's below the 0. -2 is here. What we need to do? We're going to take our ruler first to the x-axis, that is letter 4, and we're going to draw a line, a vertical line. This is our x-axis, the number 4, right on the number 4. Yes? This is the first number in the order pair. Now we can draw our y-axis. Our y-axis is represented by the -2, and we find them. Here in the y-axis, -y, we have -2 here. So we take a ruler and draw an horizontal line crossed the -2. Okay, guys, as you can see, I don't know if you see clearly, but as you can see, I draw the lines so very, very softly, okay? Very, very softly. Do you see clear? Okay. So as you can see, the lines that I draw for the x-axis 4 and the y-axis -2, they cross together here, right here. Right here, I'm going to plot with red, with the color red, the cross. What represents this? This is the letter A, our point that we called A. A. And what is the order pair of this point? Okay, we have here. The order pair is 4, comma, -2. This is the order pair of this first point. And this is all the steps